Hello again, and welcome to episode 2 of Storytime with Father Colin. Today we'll be reading from this lovely little book, The Tale of Three Trees, a traditional folk tale, a tale of three trees. So once again, I'll just read and kind of show you some pictures every once in a while, and maybe we'll try and unpack a little lesson there at the end. Once upon a mountaintop, three little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. I'm sure all of us can identify with this. There's the three trees on the mountaintop dreaming about what they're going to be when they grow up. The first little tree looked up at the stars twinkling like diamonds above him. I want to hold treasure, and I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world. The second little tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean. I want to be a strong sailing ship, he said. I want to travel mighty waters and carry powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world. The third little tree looked down into the valley below, where busy men and busy women worked in a busy town. I don't want to leave this mountaintop at all. I want to grow so tall that when people stop to look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world. So there's the three trees again, dreaming of what they're going to be when they grow up. See, there's the stream right there. There's the little town. Where's the little town? You can't quite see the little town. Can't quite see the little town, but that's okay. Just imagine there's a little town there too. There they are. Dreaming of what they want to be when they grow up. Haven't we all dreamed about what we want to be when we grow up? Years passed. The rains came, the sun shone, and the little trees grew tall. One day, three woodcutters climbed the mountain. What they're going to do. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree is beautiful. It is perfect for me." With one swoop of his shining axe, whoosh, the first tree fell. Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest, thought the first tree. I will hold wonderful treasure. The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shining axe, the second tree fell. Now I shall sail mighty waters, thought the second tree. I shall be a strong ship fit for kings. The third tree felt her heart sink when the woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven. But the woodcutter never even looked up. "Any kind of tree will do for me," he muttered. With a swoop of his shining axe, the third tree fell. There's the third tree falling. See the first two trees here? 1, 2, they've already fallen. This is the third tree. One swoop of his shining axe. The third tree fell. He didn't even ask, didn't even think about what she wanted. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought him to a carpenter's shop, but the busy carpenter was not thinking about treasure chests. Instead, his work-worn hands fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. He was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. See, there's the first tree being made into a feed box for animals. Nothing special about that. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him into a shipyard. But no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail an ocean or even a river, he was taken to a little lake. Every day, he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. Ugh. Dead, smelly fish. There he is, being built into a little boat. Nothing special here. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into a strong beam and left her in a lumber yard. What happened, the once tall tree wondered. All I have ever wanted to do was stay on the mountaintop and point to God. Many days and many nights passed. The three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, golden starlight poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby in a feed box. "I wish I could make a cradle for him," her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood. "This manger is beautiful," she said. And suddenly, the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world. There he is, about to hold, remember, this is the first tree made into a feed box for animals, about to hold the greatest treasure in the world. Who do you think that is, Take a guess. One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. He knew he did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and the rain. The tired man awakened. He stood up, stretched out his hand, and said, "Peace." The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun, and suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. There's the second tree, made into the ship, remember? There he is, carrying the King of heaven and earth. Who do you think that is? One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the forgotten woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. It made the first tree beautiful. It made the second tree strong. And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. The end. See, there they are. The first, second, and third tree. And so as we see the results, these trees had great dreams, didn't they? They thought they knew their lives were going in one direction, that the first tree would carry a great treasure, that the second tree would be a mighty ship carrying a great king, and that the third tree would always point towards God. And when people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. And they thought that was going to look a certain way, didn't they? And yet, look what happens. Unexpected, unanticipated, unexpected, right? But little did they know that even though it seemed like they were going to be worthless, weak, ugly, God made them hold something beautiful, strong, and be a thing that points to Him, that points to God. And so too, we can have the same thing, can't we? We think we think God wants a certain thing from us, and then something else unexpected happens. But we wait and we wait to see God make something beautiful, something strong, something that points towards Him out of our lives, even when it's not expected. That, my friends, is the lesson of the story of the three trees. Thank you for joining me for Storytime with Father Colin. Until next time.